Welcome back to Outdoors with the Morgans. We're on the road today and we already have 247 miles under our belt. Our first stop is Messick's. And man, this place is ginormous. We are about 3.5, 4 hours from home. I'm stopping out here to pick up an auger for the excavator, and it will actually fit on the skid loader as well. So we're gonna go in here and talk to Neil, get loaded up. I mean, we may take a little walk around as well. This place is just massive. All right, so I'm sure this guy looks familiar. We have Neil from Messick's here. So I called you a couple weeks ago or whatever, said I was looking for an auger.
Yes.
For the excavator, and you brought up a good point. You said maybe get a mount for the skid loader as well. So this will be able to be used on either or.
So we've got it all here in the back of the truck, right? So yeah, when you called and asked for an excavator mount auger, no big deal, we do those all the time, but if you ever are a couple years down the road here and you decide you want to get rid of it, you can only sell it to somebody that has the proper mount for the right excavator, right? So we have both mounts going out in this case, the one for a skid steer and then the coupler to go onto your 57. Drive-wise, there's a lot of parts here. So you're getting a 9 and a 12-inch auger, but these aren't just regular old augers. There's a lot of quality differences, put it that way, when it comes to this kind of stuff. So these are rock augers, kind of know what your area tends to be like.
Right.
So you'll see down there on the end of them, you have replaceable teeth and a replaceable point. So if any of that gets dug up or chewed apart as you're, working through rock and that kind of thing, those are all replaceable parts. The motor up here too, you can get these motors in a lot of different sizes depending on the flow of your machine, right? So small tractors, stand-on loaders, that kind of stuff will take low flow augers, but in an excavator the size of yours, you have nearly skid steer amounts of flow going out that boom. So this is a larger mid-size power unit. So it should be able to give you great torque even though you're out on the end of a machine. Oftentimes you'd see smaller units than this sized up for excavators, but we're fixing you up with the larger one.
Right. Bigger's better, Neil.
Bigger's better. And you're not in a hurry, right? So I'd rather have torque and keep the auger turning than have the thing stop, right? That's usually how I approach it.
Exactly. Well, do you have time to kind of give me a tour of the place today? We'll maybe do a little shopping or something.
We'll do some shopping.
Window shopping.
Let's go for a walk.
I don't have any more room for anything else. So.
Get the trailer up back here yet.
So this is the first time I saw an SCL 1000 in person, kind of on my wish list. What can you tell me about them, Neil?
A lot of fun to run. Every time I need a piece of equipment at home for something that my own tractor doesn't do, this is what I take home. So I had it at home with a stump grinder literally 2 days ago. It's amazing to me having a 26 horse engine under the hood, what this thing can do. And you look at the amount of hydraulics and the controls and stuff on this, you get a real appreciation for the amount of power and technology that's baked into this little thing. They're really cool and a lot of fun to run. If we get any criticism or concerns about these things, is they're made to drive through a gate in the backyard, and so they're pretty narrow. And if you're working on hilly places, we do see people roll them over.
How about front to back? Just tippy side to side or front to back?
Just side to side. Front to back's gret, and it's because it is a tracked unit. You do get that kind of that point that you roll over, and you're like, all right, here we go.
It's got a nice little suspension platform to it.
Suspension platform on it, and the little screen and stuff that's in here, you can actually dial hydraulic flows up and down and that kind of stuff. It's a pretty advanced machine.
Yeah. See, I have been looking for something. At some point, I've got the 57 excavator, the 97 skid loader. They work great, but I actually need something a little smaller for around the sawmill. And I was thinking of something like this, or maybe even better yet, a small articulated machine.
Sure.
You know, something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah, throw a grapple out there on the end to be able to pick stuff up and move it around. And like I said, they're a lot of fun.
SCL 1000. So here we have a Steiner 450. What can you tell me about these, Neil?
So you said articulated.
Right.
Right? This is articulated.
Does not have the loader.
Does not. Well, you could put a loader on it, actually, believe it or not. It's not the same kind of loader that we would be used to on a compact tractor. But cool machine. Like you said, articulates in the middle. Oddly enough, this is what I grew up on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I don't talk about these a whole lot, but my dad, our general manager, there's a lot of people here around in Messick when people were choosing what kind of equipment they wanted to have for themselves at home, have gravitated towards Steiners.
And really good on hills, right?
Fantastic on hills. That's what we use to mow our own retention basins. But yeah, the cool thing about this is the attachments on the front are quick attach, basically, right? You push a button and there's a yoke here that your attachments come on and off of really easily. And there's some of those attachments are surprisingly affordable. Things like front blades and slip scoops and that kind of stuff are like right priced, a lot of utility, not super expensive. But then they have some really unique things too, like front mount snow blowers. Their mower decks are fantastic.
So this blower, you've got hydraulic for the chute, and then
belt drive for the power.
Belt drive for the power, right off like a mid-mount PTO, basically. It's
right here at the front of the machine.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you take that snowblower off, all you do is pull a lever to detension that belt, line it up, pull the lever again to lock the belt on, and off you go. You're not monkeying PTO shafts and that kind of stuff underneath the machine, right? So not for everyone, and because it is a niche product, they're a little costly, but for the right person, they're fantastic equipment. Like I said, my dad has had one of these in the garage for 35 years.
35 years. I hear a lot of good things about these are decent on hills as well, aren't they, with the steering wheel?
Yeah, so we sell, like you get into zero turns, we sell way too many brands of zero turns. As we've acquired stores over the years, we never get rid of brands. We just kind of hang on to them. The one thing that we differentiate between those brands with is Cub Cadet's availability of a steering wheel. So still is a zero turn mower, and as you turn that wheel, you're basically manipulating the two sticks that you would normally have. But the cool thing about these is those front wheels actually steer. They're not free spinning casters. So if you want to hold a hill with a zero turn mower, these are much better than most because of that front tire, right? You don't have casters that are constantly wanting to run downhill on you. So cool machine. Every one of these brands has like standout stuff that we look at. If you move right down here to the Ferris, I can show you one of those other things. So your steel and this are going to look awfully similar, right?
Very similar.
Steel has a manufacturing relationship with Ferris where most of that technology is coming from. But you could probably attest to that front suspension that's on that machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And that's the thing, too. The older you get, these things will beat you up. You know what I mean? When you get on and want to run it for 3 or 4 hours or something, they will beat you up. And the more suspension and the nicer seat, it's worth every penny.
It really does. So when we're trying to differentiate, like, we sell 6 brands of zero-turn mowers. There's probably 30 plus out there on the market. What makes them different? That suspension is the one thing that we go to for this company. If you're looking for something that rides better, they have technology on here that makes a huge difference.
Right. Yep. You got a lot of Ferris here.
Yeah, it's amazing the variety in this stuff, right? You'd think like, oh, what do you need to mow grass, right? And the amount of models and platforms and hydraulic pumps and stand-ons and ride-ons and it just walk-behinds. The market is just filled with, you know, different ways to.
And especially for the commercial guys that are on these things, you know, 8-10 hours a day at certain times a year, you want to have the right machine for what you're doing.
It's overwhelming when you're shopping because there's so many choices, but every one of these things has purpose too. Right?
Yeah.
This is a dumper down here. I'm kind of curious.
Oh, that is something I could not justify, but I would love to have one of those dumpers. Does the bed go 360 on it?
Yes.
So Neil, this is what you just loaded up my auger with, right? Yeah. Tell me about this forklift.
It's a little AUSA telehandler. So it's a Spanish company. just starting to really get established in the US. They OEM stuff for several other companies, so their equipment's been around here for a while, but they're selling under their own brand now. Yeah, small telehandler with a little bit of extendable reach. We're seeing these more and more, especially on farms, as they're starting to replace skid steers in some cases when we need to, say, lift to feed mixer wagons or stack bales higher. We're finding a lot more applications for small telehandlers anymore.
That's a slick little setup right there.
Yeah.
How far out approximately does that boom extend?
This one I want to say is 13 feet. I'm not the product expert on these like I am on some tractor stuff.
Right.
But yeah, cool little machine. And we use them ourselves too, like you said. You want to know what we believe in. Right?
And I asked your guy that was running it how he liked it, because those are the guys, he said it's his go-to. You know, it is.
Yeah. The one big thing for us is over the years, we switched from using skid steers to load trucks to using wheel loaders and telehandlers.
Instead of skidding.
Yeah, you know, when we're skidding on the asphalt constantly, it's really hard on the machine. We tear through tires, and our operating costs of equipment like this is a lot less than skid steers. So it's a more expensive machine, but costs us vastly less money to run.
Down the road. Now this little dumper here on the other side, that's a slick setup right there.
That I'd love to know, like, were any of the highway jobs and stuff that you worked on, did you ever see one of these things around?
Nothing that small.
Okay.
No, nothing that
big
small.
Trucks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we had 100-ton rock trucks and stuff, and yeah.
So this kind of thing is like super, super common in Europe, right? You'll see them used on job sites all over the place. And hasn't quite taken a hold in the US in the same way. So right now, their biggest market is golf course construction.
Okay.
When they're trying to like haul sand around to build bunkers and that kind of stuff, they use this kind of machine. We rent one out as a concrete buggy.
It's got quite an impressive capacity, really.
And this is the small one. You should see the one in the showroom is bigger still. So yeah, they make them in all different kinds of sizes. So I mean, for us, this is a onesie, twosie type a year product at this point, right? We're new machine that we're trying to find the market, trying to establish that market. It's a lot of work and it's costly for us, but if you're the one out there that builds that business, customers will reward you for it, right?
Exactly. And the bed will rotate all the way around, right?
Yeah, so this will lift up and the whole thing will swing around so that you can dump your load and place it wherever you need to.
And where are these made?
Spain.
Spain. It's same as this?
Same as this, yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Kubota wheel loader, the 540. Now, is this the biggest one?
So there's a 640 down there too. It's a notch bigger yet. Or no, there's not. Sorry. Yeah, so there's maybe 10-15% larger than what this one is.
How many different sizes does Kubota make?
3 different chassis. Yeah, 3 different models. And the smallest one is probably the most popular for us. Again, we sold a lot as a skid steer replacement.
Yeah.
But we see more and more of these bigger ones all the time. In our area, a lot of snow removal.
Snow removal, landscape yards, things like that, stone yards.
General material, mulch handling. Every mulch yard around here loads trucks and stuff with these. The same kind of thing, you know, like it's a lot of like application overlap with a skid loader, but it's a nicer machine to run. It's a lot more comfortable to run. It's not as hard on tires.
Right.
So while they are a little bit more expensive, it definitely has its place.
So I just told Neil a few minutes ago, I have not seen an SCL 1000. You got like a dozen of them sitting right here.
Yeah, this is the first. This thing's been out for probably 3 years, and this is the first that we're actually starting to have like on the lot inventory of these things. It's a no more waiting list.
Yeah. And you said these are 26 horsepower, right?
It's that, yeah, it's same 26 horse diesel Kubota uses, and a lot of stuff is in this. The thing, it's hard to see on a camera because it's such a compact machine. The thing that blows your mind is like the hydraulic pump system and all the stuff that's going on under the dash. It's nearly what you would have in a full-size excavator crammed into this tiny little package.
But you know what? They are small, they're narrow, but once I saw them in person, they are bigger than what I thought.
You think, I mean, it lists 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? You think about how big it would be bigger than your LX tractor, right?
Right.
In terms of capacity, but it's a tiny little frame.
It's got her all crammed in there. How about the, how many of these do you sell a year compared? These are great machines.
Great machines and so wildly misunderstood. Yeah, so what, these would be B26s. There's also an L47 and an M62, which I don't think we have any of out right now. But they are construction-oriented tractor loader backhoes, right?
Yeah, this is not just a tractor. This is a construction piece of equipment.
Right, so rental yards, job sites, landscape contractors, that kind of thing. When you look at the build, you're paying for heft in this machine because you know it's going to be abused effectively. We get so many people that come in here and say, I want a tractor with a backhoe, and they see this sitting out in the lot and they decide this is what they want to buy. And it's not the machine for a hairy homeowner, right?
Yeah.
You're spending $7,000 or $8,000 more money for the overbuilt quality of this thing.
Right.
That's just not appropriate for most people. But yeah, this is it. At this point, Kubota is the only company that builds a construction machine like this. Deere used to have the 110. They discontinued that some years ago. But today, this is it.
It's quite the machine here, Neil.
This is as big as they go. Well, I shouldn't say it's not as big as they go. The M8's as big as they go. This is the biggest one that you see commonly anymore. 170 horsepower is the biggest one. And all Kubota. Kubota engine, Kubota electronics up in the cab. Some of the axles and stuff come from Spitzer or ZF transmissions. They build a lot of the transmissions for other tractor companies in the business. So when we look at this thing, there's not a lot of, say, new stuff here, if that makes sense, right?
Right.
But
I would never need one of these, but that is a good looking tractor right there.
It's a lot of fun to drive.
It's a great looking tractor.
So when I get asked, like, what's the coolest thing here, it's usually this sprayer.
This whole section looks like it's something out of Jurassic Park or something here.
It's the big boys' toys.
Boy, this thing is massive. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's a New Holland self-propelled sprayer. The booms on this will run up to about 120 feet wide. And the thing that always gets me about this is the amount of technology that's in this stuff. Chemicals and fertilizers and stuff are really expensive, and to fill the tank on this costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000, depending on the material putting in it. And so where you spray that really matters, right? And so when you look at that 120-foot boom, in many cases, every nozzle across that boom is controlled independently. There's tiny little servos in the top of them that snap every nozzle on and off. And as you're driving this machine around, it'll have GPS on it that can drive the machine itself. And the GPS knows where it's at down to an inch.
Wow.
And so you load a map of your field into the machine as you're driving around, and that map is going to tell it a prescription for that field of where that fertilizer needs to be. And so it'll spray it in exactly the right spot. And because your booms are 120 feet wide, if you happen to overlap an area that you already were, it'll start shut the nozzles off so you don't over apply.
Wow.
So a machine like this, multiple tens of thousands of dollars of technology that goes into this in order to make it as efficient as possible.
Right.
So, you know, anybody that thinks farm equipment is simple
yeah, hadn't seen one of these.
has not seen one of these.
What's on a more basic, what's with this right here?
Oh, that bar?
Yeah.
If you're driving through corn, it just pushes it out of the way.
Okay.
So you don't drive it over. Yeah, it
gotcha.
directs the crop around the wheels. The height of this raises up and down, so this is set down the whole way right now. But if you want to drive over top of standing corn, you actually raise the suspension up to move the machine up in the air.
Okay.
Yeah, and in most cases, the operator in a small field is going to drive the machine, but in a lot of cases, you're sitting up there monitoring what it's doing, and it's driving itself.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Where are these made, Neil?
This would be done in the Midwest, I believe.
So this is at the lowest setting right now?
That's the lowest, yeah. Yeah, the suspension rises up. And most of these, like to be able to get a tight, big machine like this to turn it a headland, they're four-wheel steering.
Yeah.
So they'll crab steer around and get around tight corners.
Wow.
But yeah, really, really cool stuff. You know, you always you talk about like careers for young people. I mean, awesome stuff, cool technology, leading edge mechanics.
Yeah.
The guys that go out and support this kind of stuff make fantastic money, great careers, you know, driving around in a service truck out on the road, taking care of these things.
Right.
It's one of those things that, you know, not a college degree type thing in a lot of cases, but a lot of hands-on experience and field training, manufacturer training, and that kind of stuff to take care of these kinds of things, and you make a fantastic career.
Like you said, with the price of the product that you're putting on your crops, it would have to be, you know, in a matter of a year. Can you imagine what the savings is compared to the way they used to do
it? It's what we call precision farming, right? It's, you start, any farmer sitting there, this is a business of 1%, right? It's our business, their business, it's tough to make a profit, right? And so you're eking out every little area of margin that you can find. In a lot of cases, that's investing in technology and your equipment to minimize your input costs.
Right.
So all this green and yellow, this is Krone. This all comes out of Germany. And this would be like a big producer-oriented brand. So if you're big commercial farming, you're into this stuff. That is, Big M is one of the largest hay mowers in the world. This, I forget the exact number, will mow down about 34 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood of hay as you drive along, and will drive super, super fast as it goes. But that is literally its only function, is to mow crop.
Yeah.
But it is the most impressive crop mowing machine you'll see in the country. But real specialty stuff like that, there is probably 10 or 12 of these sold in the country every year.
Okay.
With it, to find that number of customers that operate at this level.
Yeah, people don't realize too in this area how big of a farm area this is.
We're a big farm area. We're also a big agritourism area, and because of that, there's a lot of good dealers in this area, frankly, and we tend to reach up into New York, a lot into New Jersey, down into Maryland. So we're supporting a larger geographic area than what sometimes is typical.
Right.
But yeah, it's
Brent.
We're blessed to be in a cool area. That thing is a grain cart. Look at that tire.
I know. I was just admiring that tire, actually.
Yeah. So low compaction tire. Sometimes we'll even sell these on tracks because you're pulling this thing through a field and you don't want to compact the soil underneath of it, right? That hurts your yields, and so yeah, you'll see people invest in monster truck tires.
Yeah, that would make Bob Chandler, the creator of the original Bigfoot, proud for that tire right there.
Yeah. I mean, your truck's got room for more stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, Vernig makes nice stuff. If you guys are familiar with the grapple on my 97, it is a Vernig grapple. And I bought that off of Neil. I said I needed a heavy-duty grapple for a heavy-duty skid loader, and you suggested Vernig, and you were exactly right.
They you know, we deal with a lot of attachment companies, and the thing that impresses us about these guys most is great stuff, but their pricing is also really solid. Yeah, good.
I didn't even know they made snow equipment.
Snow equipment, and I mean a sea of grapples that we have out here.
Lots of different style grapples. Now, like a Vernig grapple for a tractor, like it's the V30, right?
Yep.
What's that weigh, do you know?
Oh, like the smaller 54-inch starts around like 230 pounds, something like that. Goes up from there. There's a lot more, you know, to grapples and stuff than what people think, and it's when you have a chance to come out and do this, it's cool to see all the variety that's out there in attachments, right? It's
I have the V60, right? Is that what I have?
So yeah, the V indicator is kind of the duty series, right? So it starts from 30 for the light duty, goes to 60 for the heaviest.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, down there, this would be along the lines of yours.
Yeah, mine's 84. That's my grapple right there, that one. Got little skeleton buckets for...
Yeah, that's one of those things that I wish we would see a little bit more uptake on, because like we talked before, you use yours a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I found a bunch of use for mine around home. They're not expensive attachments, but it's added utility, right?
Yeah, I wanted to see the interesting, weird stuff. So what are these?
Those are highway flail mowers. So if you're mowing roadsides and that kind of stuff, it would be a roadside flail.
Roadside flail.
Yeah, it's interesting how, like, you know, even 10 years ago, we used to sell tons of rotary cutters, and anymore, a lot of flail mowers are going behind tractors, and
Yeah.
people just appreciate the cut quality and the ruggedness of some of these flails. They're potentially more expensive to run. There's more moving parts and more blades to replace and that kind of stuff, but your finished product from a flail is notably better than a rotary cutter.
Right.
Here's where your auger came from.
Yeah. You got a lot of augers.
A lot of augers. When I said before, like the opportunity to be able to walk around and look at stuff, like, oh, that's a rock auger right there. You know,
Right.
It's one thing to be able to like talk about stuff, look at pictures online and stuff, but totally different when you can walk around
And touch and feel it and look at it up close.
So those are extensions, right? If your augers are 4-foot augers, if you need to start going deeper than that, you just snap those extensions in the middle. And then like all different shapes and sizes and flow capacities and mounts, and they all have their purpose.
And over on this side, a lot of work. I see some work brow buckets.
See if there's a tree auger down here somewhere. Yeah, that's right there. So that's for planting trees. See how it's narrow at the bottom, and then as you go up, the flame gets
tapered
bigger.
basically.
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe a tapered hole.
Wow. So here's the KX80
-5.
-5.
Yeah, so you just went from a -4 to a -5 in your excavator.
Yep.
Many of the same changes here in terms of the interior and the controls and screens and backup cameras and that kind of stuff. This one got a bigger rework in the hydraulics than what the 57 did. And we're hearing better things in terms of like multi-functionability and some flow and pressure balancing.
Right.
But yeah, every couple of years you just see these incremental improvements roll from one model and then the next.
What size excavator is your biggest seller?
So the 40 would be the biggest one, and then after that the 80, and then a lot of the mishmash of the smallers between the like 7,000 pounds, some KX, some U.
The 40 is very popular because of the weight of the machine.
Because of the weight.
And you can tow it basically with a 3/4 ton truck and no CDL.
Being careful, because if you load that thing up, you'll go over.
Right.
So like rental yards and stuff tend to stay the step below that to give a little bit more buffer room.
Yeah.
But
what's a 80 weigh? About 19,000, 20,000 pounds?
About 17,000. So yeah, the trick on all of your excavators is multiply the model number by 2.2.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Yeah, that gives you the weight of the machine, and usually in its more stripped down configuration. When you start adding angle blades and thumbs and that kind of stuff, it gets heavier.
All right, we're gonna head inside.
Inside quick. So we did the outside loop.
Quite the showroom here.
Yeah, a little different. So we have enough room in here to put in equipment and that kind of stuff, which is nice. Ugly days and stuff, we got a little bit of equipment to show off. We also have, this is a little unique, but a doctor's office and an insurance company in our showroom.
Nice.
The doctor's office is a great employee benefit. If you work here, you can go see the doctor anytime you need to. And the insurance company helps us with insurance for customers, but they also do most of the farmer's crop insurance and stuff in the area.
Okay.
So it's kind of handy if you come into the store, you can see other people that you work with besides us.
Right.
And we'll go in the shop and then loop back around there. This is usually pretty interesting back here because we have a lot more like paper books and service manuals and that kind of stuff than what you probably expect. You know, everything comes in a laptop anymore, but especially when you're working on hydraulics and wiring diagrams and that kind of stuff, there's no replacement for service manuals.
And so organized.
Yeah, well, every one of those books is $200 to $300, and so we really try to keep tabs on them, right? So there's a library back in here, and if you take one, you got to check it out.
Oh,
right?
yeah, you'd have to, yeah.
Because we sure don't want to lose them. But 50, 60 years worth of books back here on the shelves. And a lot of times too, even with old equipment, you know, when they digitize this stuff, they don't always go the whole way back. And so we keep a lot of these older paper books and stuff around if we're working on older machinery. So it's,
right.
yeah.
Very impressive.
So you can hear a murmur of people back in here, right?
Yeah.
So we actually have a small call center in here, the people that do customer service, right? So you call in with questions about parts for your machine and that kind of stuff. There's offices full of people back in here that are available to help. Because as much of this stuff is like you can put on a computer, you can put online. There's no substitute for like old school people
Talking to somebody
in the process and customer service, right? So a lot of people kind of think of like parts e-commerce as everybody's just sitting at home in their underwear ordering parts online. That's not the nature of the business at all. It's still very people focused.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's all these folks are back here helping people around the country with their parts needs.
You ever track your steps here in a day?
People are like, always ask, like, you move into this building, it's like one thing if you would have done differently or didn't expect, and that's what we didn't expect.
Yeah.
It's like, the amount of time it takes me now to get from my desk out to where the tractors are
Right.
adds up in the course of the day. And that, not figure on that.
What is this?
So we're going to the weird stuff here, right?
Yeah.
So this is all oil. So there's about 30,000 gallons of oil in the back here that sits down in the bathtub in case tanks rupture or whatever. It's how you have to store it. And any oils that we use from 5-gallon pails on up come out of this system. So oil is a very slim margin game because it's available in a lot of places, but we can sell extremely high quality oils at very reasonable prices through a bulk system like this.
Okay.
So many of these 5-gallon buckets you'll see here have a logo and stuff on them. These all come out of that system. We get it delivered here in tankers and pump it down into 5-gallon buckets. And then we also do oil delivery, so we'll sell bulk systems to area farmers and businesses. And then we have a truck that has tanks in the back of it that will go out and refill those bulk systems.
Gotcha.
So a lot of big tractors can take 40 and 50 gallons of hydraulic fluid in the back of them, and you know, if you're trying to minimize those input costs, buying in bulk, because around the machine comes in off of a chicken farm or something, and we got to work on it in February. We're not standing outside trying to wash equipment. The more interesting story is the garage doors. So, like, this building got built in the middle of COVID and supply chain problems and whatever. And the one thing we really couldn't get our hands on when we were ready to move in was garage doors. And around here, a lot of our labor on these projects is Amish labor. And so we actually had Amish-built barn doors over top of many of these big garage doors for the first several months that we were here, right?
Yeah, garage doors were one of those things I heard about from everybody. They were just...
Yeah. Nobody in garage doors. So you go pull a machine into the wash bay, you had to have the big, you know, board coming down, swing it to the side, and push the big wooden doors open on our brand new because we couldn't get garage doors.
I didn't know you sold fuel tanks.
Yeah, bulk fuel tanks. And all the pump systems and everything to go on them.
Boy, that's a high ceiling in this one.
And the catwalk, so if we're washing a combine or a big piece of equipment, we're not standing on top of the ladder trying to pressure wash.
Right. Looks like a very nice service truck there.
Yeah, so this is kind of the latest ones that we've been getting. We're using international trucks now. Still have a lot of Fords and Chevys and stuff in our fleet, but we're buying bigger trucks that tend to last longer, you know, because we want to get more years out of them because of the dollar investment in these things. It's just...
I don't think I've seen one of these
crazy
yet. This thing is the first one. It's an international. Yeah. So it's like a 6500 Chevy?
There's Chevy ties into it, but from what I understand, it's a heavier frame, a heavier transmission that's in it.
Right.
Yeah, because of the weight of the trucks and everything. So cranes and generators and air compressors, and you look and say, like, it's a ton of money to invest in service trucks. It's also wildly expensive to move equipment around, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you got to load something onto a tractor trailer and bring it in here into the shop, it costs a lot of money,
right.
With permits and all that kind of stuff, and what truck drivers have to be paid and stuff anymore. So when we can bring the shop to the customer, it saves money at the end of the day. Parts. So yeah, the big driver for us to even move into this huge building in the first place was parts. We do an enormous parts business around the country, and we were just standing shoulder to shoulder in our old building. So if you look at the blue shelving over there where the parts are stored, there's 3 miles of blue shelving. If you walk up and down every one of those aisles, we have about 4 times the amount of pallet racking that we had before with narrow aisle forklifts. So they're wired guided forklifts that go up and down the aisles so that we can fit more inventory into the building now. And then we do all of this in terms of business processes and computer software, because dealership software doesn't do warehousing like this, right? So my background is in IT and computer programming. And so I kind of run the IT group that builds a lot of the software that you see on Messick.com or the stuff that runs our warehousing. Yeah, you go over here and do the gates over here are fun.
Wow. So the parts are kind of picked down that way and it's headed over to shipping that way?
Yeah, so the parts are picked down there. They come down this conveyor belt, and then there's a barcode scanner on here that will scan the totes. And then if it's a complete order, it goes down to shipping. If it's incomplete, it kicks over here to what we call the sort group. This is my favorite project in computer land that I probably have ever done. When the companies come by and they install these conveyor belts, they're like, when you want to operate the gate, touch these 2 wires together. So the computer that we use to touch those wires together is $35. It's the size of a credit card. And here they come. Actually, if you watch right here, I love to look at this and think that like this entire operation hinges on a $35 computer, right? Like
kicks it over,
and then yeah, that would come down here. So that would be an order that we still need additional parts for, and it will sit back here and wait for those parts to come in before it goes out, and then that one would be complete. It's going down the shipping. So we pick incomplete orders. So if, for instance, if our inventory is off, say you order parts on Tuesday and your last part that we don't have that we're waiting for is coming in on Friday, on Tuesday we'll go and pull those incomplete parts out of the bin because we want to make sure our inventory was correct.
Yeah.
If there was a mistake there, we want to find it as quickly as possible. So
and this is the barcode. It scans right here to kick it over this way.
Yeah, it understands that. Yep. So we make all the computer software that runs all of this is all our in-house creation.
Wow. If you told me to tell you the direction my truck is parked, I don't think I can even tell anymore. This place is just huge.
Yeah. This is an airlock in the back here that we have our box trucks in for loading our own stuff. We're really lucky geographically. We're really close to one of C&H's parts depots. So we send these trucks every morning to their depots. So orders that were placed, we pick up ourselves, saves on freight costs for us and our customer, gives us faster service. And then all of our stores around here, we pick up and drop off parts from all of our locations.
How many locations do you have?
5 total.
5 total.
And then we'll also, in about a 15 county area, we'll deliver parts to local customers for $10. So if you need something on your farm or whatever, we'll come out and actually drop it off to you.
Very nice.
So like some of the little things that we obsess over is like storage of part numbers, right? So we'd have a lot of high school kids that work here in the summertime, and not to offend them at all, but many of them they can't look at the description of a part and know what it is, right? So in our old store, it was very common for us to have to put 3 and 4 part numbers in the same bin because we didn't have enough storage space. Now it's 1 part number per bin. So, you just got to know you got to get the widget out of this bin location and not have to know what it is.
Right.
And then all of these are high density bins. So like this screw, for example, if you go to order and you need one of those, in most cases, the manufacturer is going to ship us a package, not an individual screw. And in many cases, dealerships will require customers to buy an entire package, right? So you think, I only need one of these, but you're forcing me to buy 10. We don't do that. So we have all of these high density drawers for storing little nuts and bolts and widgets and that kind of stuff, where you bought one, we had to order 20, the other 19 go in a drawer.
Right.
And the challenge with that on the dealership side is the storage and the inventory and that kind of stuff. And high density drawers like this are part of the solution.
Right.
But
yeah, this is incredible. It really is.
Yeah. From a construction standpoint, if you're into the building side of things, all of this shelving was one of the most time-consuming things about building this place. So they built the building in 5 different phases in a circle. And they built, phase 1 was the showroom. Phase 2 was this first section of the parts department. And they actually started assembling all of this shelving when phase 2 was under roof.
Okay.
While they're still pouring the concrete and putting up the roof and the rest of the building, they were already in here putting shelving together because it took something like 5 months to put all of this together.
How many years from when you broke ground here did it take to be fully operational?
11 months.
Really?
It blew my mind. We had our initial, like, this is the move date, and it happened to correspond with the time that my wife had scheduled my family to go to Disney.
Really?
And I told my wife, I was like, do not cancel this trip because there is 0 chance this date is going to hold. And it didn't. The date held.
11 months, that's
11
amazing.
Months. Yeah, from breaking ground to being done. I mean, it's a testament. I said there's a lot of Amish labor, and in the middle of COVID, there's a lot of Amish and plain labor in this area, and people here know how to work.
Yeah.
Right? It is, and fortunate for us, when it's the pool of people that we have to work here. We're not lazy. Like, we can hire fantastic people in this area.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's not like that way everywhere, that's for sure.
What has your experience been with oil? I'm curious about that.
With oil?
Yeah. What do you run in? You have such a mishmash of equipment.
Yeah, I always run, like all my Kubota stuff, I just run Kubota oil. Whatever that is, you could probably tell me better, but I always try to just stick with what the manufacturer says. I don't skimp on oil.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't go to some big box store and buy hydraulic oil. I don't know what it is. I try to get what's recommended.
Yeah. Mixed fleets are hard, right? Because you don't want to keep like 8,000 products around.
Right.
So we stock 8,000 products.
Yeah.
Right? So like this whole aisle from end to end and almost up to the ceiling is all packaged oils. Because for the most part, there are manufacturer recommendations of what's supposed to go into your machine, and there are very loose standards for what oils even are in their formulation for hydraulics.
Right.
So yeah, we keep an enormous amount of oil. And over the years, like being in some of the facilities where this stuff is mixed and talking to people, it's one of those like technology discussions that I love the nerdy aspect of what's in every one of those pails. Anywhere that you see the name Field Ready around here, we do house brand some stuff. So like, while oils, like we were just talking, can be super specific to a machine, where there are things that are truly like generic, or parts can be sourced elsewhere to save money.
Right.
We are doing that, and we'll put the Field Ready name on.
I met one of your suppliers the other day. I told you about fixing that baseball field.
Yeah.
One of the guys that helps out, he works for, is it Brian? Did they do the twine? Brian? Bryden.
Yeah.
Bryden. Yeah. Kurt Wearing was his name. Yep.
Yeah, good. I know him. Yes.
Yep.
Great people, and yeah, I mean, we would have a lot of
He had the same to say about you guys as well. But that is some forklift right there.
Yeah, that's the big boy forklift. So if you look down these roads, you'll see there's a line that was cut in the concrete down there.
Yeah.
There's a wire that runs down that row, and with this narrow aisle, we could fit a lot more inventory into a small space. So that big forklift will lock onto the wire. It drives down the aisle. It can't crash into the sides. And then when he wants to get something off one of those top shelves, the operator actually goes up with the forks.
Okay.
So can't have a fear of heights.
Yeah, no, it's up there.
But they can, pick off the top shelf and see how to slide the fork.
I never would have imagined that goes down here.
Yes, yeah. And you look at that aisle compared to, we have another aisle over here that takes a traditional forklift, and the aisles are 4 times as wide, right? So, yes, it's an extremely expensive forklift, but you can fit an enormous amount of inventory.
Right, you're doubling your storage space for parts.
Easily.
Yeah.
This is always impressive to me. So that line of guys is who's available for walk-in, right? So you see all this stuff around here. We do a lot of long-distance business, but we're still predominantly a local market company.
How many people work in this building here?
180.
180.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, not only do you have all the parts people on the phones back there, this is just for walk-in, right?
This is for walk-in, yeah. And you're trying to maintain relationships, right? So if you call in from a local area code phone number, you'll work with the people here that you're used to seeing when you come in the store.
Right.
If you call from outside the area, you'll get somebody from the call center in the back, right? It's a people business, and so we always try to invest in that side of it.
Very nice. Well, Neil, I think I really appreciate the tour. I do. This was fun. This was worth the trip just to see everything. I'm into this kind of stuff.
I hope it's interesting. You know, like,
and just to see how far this company, from when it started. What year did Messick start?
1952.
52 to today is just incredible. It really is.
It's been a ride for all of us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That surprised look that you get when walking around here, I still have it every day showing up for work.
Yeah.
Just, really?
How did this all happen?
How did this happen? That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Neil. I really do.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to get on the road here shortly, but thanks for the tour.
Awesome. Thanks so much.